I came to NC State because I was a leader in youth agricultural activities. I was the president of the state Future Farmers of America at the time I came here. I'd been active in Grange youth work. I'd been active in 4-H clubs. I mean, that's where the young people off the farms in North Carolina went to. And I came here. I originally enrolled in agriculture, in dairy husbandry. The only problem with dairy husbandry was you had to take a lot of organic chemistry, which did not agree with me. And so I decided there was a better way than, and I'd about decided I wasn't going to be a dairy farmer after all. I'd grown up on a dairy farm, and I like it, and I still have cattle on that farm. Now they're beef cattle. So I switched into agricultural education to be a vocational agriculture teacher. I remember where I lived. I lived in old Syme Dormitory, which was up at the east side of the campus, right beside the railroad track. If you lived in Syme Dormitory, you knew you lived beside the railroad track. The doggone train went through every night and woke you up. And you had 4 students, maybe 3 students in the room. And they didn't allow you to have a popcorn popper in your room. You couldn't have any electrical appliances. Well, I had a popcorn popper. I also had a girlfriend in Iowa named Carolyn Leonard who lived on a corn and beef farm. And she'd send me these beautiful ears of popcorn. I mean, they raised regular corn, but, you know, nice popcorn too. So we'd shell that popcorn and put it in this old popcorn popper. And I remember the guy, he was from Pittsburgh, North Carolina, who was the dorm manager. And we'd crank up that popcorn, put some oil in that thing, you know, and get it going, and it would start popping. And a bunch of guys would come into the room. We'd have maybe 15 to 20 guys in the room waiting for the popcorn. And the dorm manager, as soon as we got going and the smell started going down the hall, he'd come down the hall from his office and he'd bang on the door. And we'd fixed it, by the way, so he couldn't put his master key in the door lock, in the latch. And he'd say, "Jimmy Hunt, I know what you're doing in there. You're cooking popcorn. That's not allowed. Open this door." And we'd say, "Oh, we're taking a nap. Don't bother us. Go away. We're not doing anything in here." Well, he never got in the room, but we sure enjoyed a lot of popcorn. And she kept sending it, and I was a very popular fellow in my dorm. Another thing I think you do in college is you learn to develop your own value system, your own philosophy. What do you believe, and why do you believe it? And, you know, you come with what you've learned in your church and from your family about what's right and wrong and how we ought to act and live and treat our fellow human beings. But then when you get in college and you learn about things that have happened historically and current events and all of that, you have to say, all right, now what does my background say about what we ought to do in this situation? And I'll give you a very good example. I came from a traditional rural southern community where everybody assumed that racial segregation was the right way to do things. I came to NC State right after the Supreme Court had ruled separate but equal public schools unconstitutional. I had thought that the ruling was wrong. But while at NC State, in particular because of my involvement in student government, I got to hear a lot of opinions, learn a lot about the world, have a lot of professors who challenged me and made me think about my position. I did a lot of reading about what was right about things. I came to see the evil of racism, to see that forced segregation was wrong, inherently wrong, not only unconstitutional, but wrong, morally wrong. It was here that with those experiences, and students were having them everywhere, of course, across the country, and that kind of thing was not as much focused on here, say as at Carolina or Duke perhaps. But I really came to understand, and particularly from some of my professors, that what I had thought was right was not right. That experience in student government at NC State really taught me a lot. I worked closely with the chancellor. We had Chancellor Kerry Boston at the time, a wonderful man. Every week as student body president, I would meet with him in his office in Holiday Hall, along with the president of the Faculty Senate. So we really, got to know what the issues were at the university. And as a student leader, I realized what our responsibility was to it. It wasn't just a lark, just something to have fun or to make trouble or whatever. We had the responsibility to help make the campus better and to give students an opportunity to get a better education. You really found out what it's like to be in charge of a big organization and to work with your constituents, in our case the students, and be responsible for changing things and improving them, and having a team and working with people. That's where I first got the experiences and developed what I hope were some talents to lead people and make things better.